in brightest day, in blackest night. No evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. Pretty cool, huh?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chad Bokelman,
I'm Mark Marble.
and this is the LanternCast.
Episode 206.
Godhead, Act 2.5.43XY. God. Act
Part
2.
two.
Part deuce.
Act two, I should say.
It's something of a do.
Act deuce.
All right, so we're splitting this up a little different than normal because Mark wants to get the good stuff. So go ahead, Mark. You're taking Green Lantern 36, right? Part 1?
Yes. Well, you wanted New Guardians, and you got New Guardians, so at least then it's just divvying up the loot.
Thanks
So
for throwing me a bone. Go ahead, Mark.
fine. At least I called Sinestro before I read it, so I just had faith on Sinestro. All right, so Green Lantern 36, which is Godhead Act 2, Part 1. We begin in New Genesis. I just love that description. Floating paradise of the new gods in an untouchable, unreachable plane. Under overkill, see? So we have a little interesting conversation between Orion and High Father, in which High Father essentially is chastising Orion for his behavior in the confrontation with Hal and the Green Lanterns that we saw in the last issue. Orion and High Father basically see things quite differently. Not surprisingly, Orion he just sees himself as a warrior, and he sees himself as the instrument to defeat Darkseid, while High Father keeps preaching the fact that now that we have, that we're about to have the power, of the life equation, so that's going to be the instrument. Using that as a weapon is going to be the instrument to finally defeat Darkseid, and he tries to convince Orion. One of the main reasons I didn't want you to kill these lanterns is what would be better, to have dead lanterns, or have basically an army of lanterns like super amped up, super powerful on our side. Orion doesn't really care, and he just simply says, "You want to know what I think, Father? I think fighting is the only talent I've ever had." We cut to the boundaries of our universe. They're really knocking the ball out of the park with these descriptions about where they are. Space Sector 3502. We see Hal and Salak pretty much leading what's left, and Kilowog, of course, leading what's left of the Green Lantern Corps on their secret rendezvous, which of course turns out to be New Corridor, as they're taking what's left of the Green Lantern Corps to meet up with Sinestro. And that leads to, before they even arrive, we have the typical infighting that we've seen in the Sinestro book between Lysa and Soranik, more or less kind of like they're jockeying for position with Sinestro. Lysa still wants to be super, like his Sinestro's right-hand man. Soranik seemingly doesn't care, but she likes throwing it, in his face, or her face, I should say, Lysa's face, that at the end of the day, I'm still Sinestro's daughter, and that matters more, and Sinestro could never, even if he was capable of love, he could never love you. Or Sinestro just kind of gets sick of it after a while, and he just says, "Come with me we have guests to welcome." And the Green Lantern Corps, we see John's group, we see John's already there. On one panel before, we see Hal interact with John. Sora goes over to treat the wounded, even though Sinestro originally wants to keep her away from the Green Lanterns. She just points out, "I'm a doctor first, and I'm gonna do my thing, and you just try to stop me." Which, in a way, I'm sure reminds Sinestro of himself. So that's part of the reason he probably doesn't make more of an effort to really stop her. At this point, as they're all kind of like catching up on everything that's been going down, especially with John and Hal, the New Guardians arrive. We haven't seen them since they were kind of like boomed out of the way by High Father in New Guardians. the new Guardians pretty much announced that Highfather and his minions have captured the most powerful of you. The new guards have imprisoned the White Lantern. And the reaction, or the different reactions between Hal and Sinestro are kind of priceless. Hal's like, Kyle's alive? I saw him die. And Sinestro's just, most powerful? I like that part a lot. Now we get the little catch up, a little filling in the blanks from the new Guardians about how, Kyle didn't really die when he crossed over through the source wall, but he brought back something with him that he shouldn't have, the life equation, and how the new gods are planning on using this, turning Kyle basically into a weapon. St. Walker comes like bursting through the crowd, and says, tell me that this is true. That's Kyle really is still alive. And he goes, the new Guardians say, yes, on our word, St. Walker, he lives for now. It falls to us to save him, or else it might lead to the end of everything. Hal's not too happy about, the Guardians just showing up and dropping all this on them. Hal points out that, that pretty much they've taken a ring from every color of the spectrum now, except for one, the black. And he's thinking that maybe that could be because they're afraid of the power of the Black Lantern. Well, it could also mean they don't understand. They don't have any knowledge of it too, potentially. But either way, Hal's theory is that they don't know that they're afraid of it. So he wants to basically go to find Black Hand to try to convince him to join the fight. The new Guardians forbid this, and they basically said it's your job, Lantern Jordan, to devise a plan for counterattack and to rescue Kyle. We see Hal trying to find, basically do some using his ring to try to find some data, whether there's any traces or history of the new gods, anything like their power, whether there's anything, any references to Highfather, Metron. Nothing's working. That's Sinestro shows up and, of course, kind of rubs it in Hal's face that, like, when did you become such a bureaucrat that you're supposed to be the leader of the Corps, that you're the greatest Lantern of them all, and look at you. You're just, kind of like basically just following the letter of the law now thinking outside the box. Sinestro and Hal, they kind of get into their fight, a brief fight, and Hal, it's good to see Hal react because he was so depressed the last time, when Sinestro kicked his ass in the Sinestro Corps crossover, or Sinestro's book crossover, that, Hal just criticizes him for always scheming, and this is where we come back to a point that Sinestro kind of it magnifies a point that Sinestro raised in the last issue when he was talking to one of his own men, Dez, the fact that he's completely honest enough with Hal to acknowledge that one of the reasons, or the main reason you're still alive and you've always been a pain in my what, and I've never been able to kill you, is because you're too damn unpredictable. That put a schemer in front of me, he says, and I will I'll just crush them, turn their bones to powder. Pretty much, it means nothing to me. Anybody who's a schemer, and that's what he referred to Dez as in the last issue of Sinestro, that he's a schemer. That you put a schemer in front of me, I can handle that, no problem. But the problem I have with you is that that you've always been unpredictable. You always basically fly by the seat of your pants. And despite the fact that there's no real logic in what you're doing, it works. And even Sinestro even makes an interesting little point about, because he references the end of the Wrath of the First Lantern when the line about we were always friends and we'll always be friends, and he says what makes our relationship or a friendship like ours survive, basically, or how it can continue, is because we both see in each other things, or admire. He actually uses the word admire in each other, things that we don't have, not the things we have in common, things that we don't have. And at the end of the day, Sinestro is driving the point home that you have to be you. If there's that you tried coming up with a strategy to deal with the new gods correct before, and that's when they fought at the source wall. And he goes, and Hal acknowledges that. And he goes, "What happened?" "Well, I lost." Well, if there's a key to success, you got to, you go with your instinct, because that's what's always serves you best. And they come. So that's the understanding or the conversation that kind of drives home to Hal that he kind of has to be a little bit more like he used to be. But one of the coolest part is right at the end of this conversation when they basically, they kind of agreed to this approach. Hal, as Sinestro is walking away, Hal just goes, "So, you're saying you admire me?" Which is pretty cool because it's Hal kind of being Hal, really, but which we haven't really seen a whole lot in the Venditti run as much. That it's a real glimpse into the Hal, the kind of like the cocky part of Hal that we haven't seen that much. So we see Lissa opening up a portal, a subspace gate, she refers to it as, to take the Sinestro Corps and the Green Lanterns into Quard, hoping that that's going to be a safe ground or safe enough for them. And they basically agree to Hal and Sinestro agree to meet, I believe, at the Source Wall, if everything goes correctly according to their plan. We cut to Earth, back on Coast City, where we have police surrounding a circus tent, and we see Black Hand eating popcorn surrounded by his raised minions watching a circus, which is kind of cool because we have Harry Houdini performing, and a nice little throw into Batman with the Flying Graysons performing, and that's when Hal shows up. And it's a very interesting take on Black Hand. He's kind of more of a nuttier, goofier Black Hand, but yet I kind of think it works. So this is when Hal tries to convince him that he's not here to fight, that I really need your help. He goes, something big is happening, bigger than both of us, and you can help me stop it. I want you to take your show on the road. And that ends Green Lantern 36.
You know what I just noticed while we were reading this? By the way, guys, I'm reading this on a tablet. I actually got a Surface 2, not a Surface Pro or a Surface Pro 3. I got a Surface 2 on Black Friday because it was super cheap compared to what it has been recently, and I've been saving up for it for a little while, so I got it while it was cheap. But I'm reading it digitally, so it's a lot easier than doing it on my laptop while we're recording. But anyways, because it's digital, I was able to zoom in. You notice that St. Walker stole a tree monk?
Yeah, I did notice the tree monk came with him. Well, he must be. Well, he must. There's a bond with these guys. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe once the Blue Corps starts back up again, maybe he's going to be a recruit.
Bad.
He goes from he'll go from big to little. First he had Worth as his second in command, and now he's going to have a tree monk.
I can't wait to see Badge go up against the Blue Lantern tree monk.
So what did you think? I actually really liked this issue for the most part. The Orion stuff didn't. Everything since the New Gods weren't in it much. I think that's probably one of the reasons I liked it as much as I did. But the interaction with everybody in this issue, I thought was really good.
Yeah, it was cool, and I even like the Black Hand part of it, of course. But I think I don't know, and it's not really a criticism so much as an observation. The Black Hand part of it seemed kind of jarring compared to the rest of the issue.
You mean art-wise, or
no? I mean, I just mean in general, just like in tone, in overall tone.
Yeah, but I think that's what they're going. I think in a way but that's kind of playing off. I think what the New Guardians were trying to get through to Hal, that because they kind of reiterate why this is a bad idea, and you have to come up with a better idea than this. Don't do this. You're kind of like playing with fire, no pun intended. If you're doing this, so I think that's kind of maybe it's kind of to show with the darkness and the death, and such, and even just the way it's drawn is just so much darker and more ominous that maybe that's kind of going back, trying to at least reiterate that the New Guardians really weren't just being typical Guardians shooting down every idea you have, that there's a reason that they are kind of thinking big picture, while this may not be the best way to go.
Yeah. Still though, I mean, I just wanted to point that out, that I noticed it more, I guess, when the Black Hand part showed up, because it just felt more noticeable to me, more jarring. So there's that. Now the issue itself, I thought was pretty good. I mean, it was I like the back and forth with Sinestro and Hal. As a matter of fact, as we were talking, I literally just made that part where he says, "Set a plotter and schemer in my path." That panel, I just made that my cover photo on on Facebook. So, yay! The wonders of a digital comic on a tablet. I can take screenshots and make them high quality cover photos.
I mean, the interaction with Hal, and even going back to what we saw in the last time they interacted in Sinestro, in the book, his book, that their interaction with Hal and Sinestro has been really, really good.
Mm-hmm. And
I think
consistent.
yes, it's been very, and it's taking in a way some of the thing. At least personally, I don't know if you felt the same way, but once John's left, and then we knew we were getting the Sinestro book, it kind of made me nervous about how someone else was going to be writing Sinestro and how they were going to, if they were going to take it back in a different direction, or we were going to have kind of like developing more the Sinestro that we have kind of seen over the past 10 years or so under John's, or almost full 10 years. That I think that they're doing a good job at not just taking that to the next level, but they're doing a really good job at establishing their relationship. And even though Sinestro, this is why Hal reacting to, at the end saying, "So you admire me." It was super relevant because even maybe Sinestro himself may not have been aware that that's the word that he chose. But the fact that it wasn't lost on Hal was pretty important too, because that's a pretty big reveal for Sinestro. To say Sinestro would admire anybody about anything. Maybe grudging admiration maybe on a good day, but to actually and just admit that there's something in Hal, something about Hal that he admires because he doesn't have it himself. Sinestro, who sees himself pretty much as the perfect Lantern, the ultimate Lantern, and the solution to any problem Lantern related is with me, with my, with my scheming, my ring, everything. For him to acknowledge that Hal has something he doesn't, and that it's something that he actually maybe would kind of wish that he could have. That it's pretty cool. I think this was a really, really impressive issue overall, and I would say probably this issue, and again, not going too spoiler heavy, that the next issue of Green Lantern, which has already come out, that I think those two may very well be the best two issues during the Venditti run so far. Because at least we're seeing a lot of Hal being written as Hal again too. So I think that's a big plus.
Yeah, I just overall I really enjoyed it. I just think that in the art especially, I have no issues with the art. It's different for sure, but I think it's going to take if this artist going to continue?
I don't think it's official. I mean, I don't think Tan has left the book yet. I mean, because he still did the cover, which of course
Yeah.
isn't great. But I think
If the art continues, it would take
it's still better than Tan. I think
it will take me some time to get used to, so I can start pointing out some inconsistencies if there are any. But I just enjoyed it overall.
I did too. I think overall, this was a really, really good issue, and I think it was a good way to begin the second act of Godhead, because it kind of got some momentum rolling down, got you rolling downhill with some momentum going into the rest of the act.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Green Lantern Corps 36, Part 2. Ready?
Yep.
All right, cool. Green Lantern Corps 36 by Van Jensen with art by Chang is Bernard Chang. Yes. And it's Act 2, Part 2. So we open up on Zamaron, the home of the Star Sapphires, as the Star Sapphires are are talking about the various other beings they have trapped in crystals, and they're waiting for them to feel love and, teach their hearts love so they can become sisters of the Zamarons and become Star Sapphires. Well, as they're preparing all of this, they see a light up in the sky, and a boom tube shows up. That's a cool use of the boom. Didn't notice that before. Boom tube shows up as a spear goes through the chest of one of the Zamarons, and one of the new gods says, "I will bring you to your knees." And then we cut over to the antimatter universe to Quard, and Sinestro is saying, "Welcome to your new home, Lanterns. Welcome to Quard." And we see, for some reason, St. Walker is wearing a Blue Lantern uniform, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, he is. That's another. Well, if you, throughout some of these issues in Act 2, there are some kind of really mistakes in the art, and when we get to Sinestro, there's some too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big screw up.
Yeah. Which is probably a hint that he'll probably be a Blue Lantern by the end of all of this.
Well, yeah, I think so too. And the art, the promo art kind of suggested that too before Godhead even began, that he would be blue.
Yeah. So he said, Kilowog is talking to John and says, I really don't think we should be here. Sinestro overhears it and says, well, if you don't want to be here, Lysa can reopen the portal. How long do you expect to last? And John says, "You're as yellow as the rest of us, Sinestro. We all turned tail. We can't count on staying hidden forever. We need to find a way to stand against these supposed gods." The Guardians start trying to make plans, and then one of them notices, "Wait, where is Hal Jordan?" Super observant guys.
Yeah, you would think he'd be one they wouldn't want to. Like, who's missing? I can't place the name. Who is it?
Okay, everybody, line up. Head count.
All you humans look alike anyway.
So Sinestro tells him he left and to get some reinforcement, and they're like, he's gone after Black Hand, hasn't he? And that dastardly Hal Jordan. They say he's playing with forces too dangerous, too uncontrollable. But they say there's an even greater matter they must address. They say that there is actually that Highfather essentially has Kyle Rayner, and they have he has the life equation, so they're going to get the life equation, and they're like, well, we need to rescue Kyle. And he says, Sinestro says, well, we can't get to New Genesis. The Indigo Tribe can't teleport us, so we need to find a new god, claim one of the mother boxes. And they said, and Kilowog's like, well, we're not going to listen to a thing you said. And so they start bickering back and forth about what should be done, and John interrupts and says, that's enough. We need all this. We need all to stand together here, and we're short a few hues for that. So he talks about having to go get a few lanterns. The Reds are depleted, basically, so we can't grab them. And then the Guardians are like, well, what about the Star Sapphires? And we can't trust them. Kilowog reminds him, Zamaron has to be a target because they knew where to find us, so they must know where to find the Zamarons, a.k.a. Star Sapphires. Sinestro refuses to go along with. John says, basically, fine by me, we'll go. But it's going to be difficult because the last time the new gods smashed through our constructs like nothing. And Sinestro says rings aren't our only weapons. And then deep below the surface, we see the weaponer is forging a sword. And he says, I've heard that these new gods wield weapons even more powerful than those rings of yours. I wish to see this for myself. So he throws this newly forged sword, still hot from the fires, towards John. John catches it with a construct. Tells him it's just an ordinary sword. And then the weaponer says, hey, Deus Ex Machina, I had forged this shield with the energy of the damaged White Lantern ring from the very power that drew the eye of these gods. I've ranged the universe, but I've yet to come up against anything that can dent it. I found this shield has more uses than just keeping my hide intact. And then he kind of puts his shield up against the sword and kind of transfers some energy and says, now your sword is just as strong. And John says, maybe strong enough to fell a god. As he walks off, Sora comes up to him and says, I'm worried about you. I'd like to tend to your injuries. And she says, not all injuries are just physical. And she's, talking about Of course, the whole thing with fatality, and you're victimized. And he says, "I'm not a victim. I shouldn't have yelled at you. It's all right." And she says, "It wasn't right for me to push you, but you're about to go on a dangerous mission to save the Star Sapphires. You need to be careful that your feelings toward them don't get the better of you." And he says that he says, what does he say here? I forgot. He says, "We're fighting a war against God, Sora. There's no time for feelings. The Star Sapphires are going to have to answer for what they did to Yara. But they'll have to survive first." And cut back to Zamron as the Zamronians are under attack. They're retreating back towards their battery so they can recharge. But as they do, one of the new gods shoots an arrow to where they're headed. And boom, 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 blows it up, causing severely wounding one of the Star Sapphires. The Queen of the Zamorons shows up and says that just basically getting a status report. No one challenges us, no one hurts our queen and lives. The spears at the ready. And they say they're going to claim vengeance, so they go and try to rally themselves. Well, this Archer new god, I don't know, says, we'll aim for the heart. So they have this kind of rocket-powered arrow thing that shatters itself into a billion pieces. And just as it looks like it's about to take out all the Zamorons, knock. And bam, shows up the Green Lantern Corps, well, some of them, an Indigo Lantern and the Weaponer himself to shatter all that stuff. They said, one of the archers says, "Not but Uga's hammer itself has stopped my archer's arrows." And they said, "The blade cuts both ways, man. No weapon matches my bow, mortal." And John says, "A bow is fine unless you're in close quarters." And they start fighting each other. The queen says, we're gonna bring as many of your people, or Kilowog says, "Bring as many of your people together as you can." The queen says, "I'll gather them." She sends out a tether and brings all the Star Sapphires to their side. The Weaponer and the Archer are going up against one another, and it's a good back and forth for a while. Until the Archer loses her helmet, and she says, "Archers release the net." They shoot off some arrows up into the sky, and it looks like all the lanterns, both the Star Sapphire, Green Lantern, Indigo, and even the Weaponer, are all stuck behind this kind of force field net. John takes a swing at it with his sword, and it breaks the sword, and John says, "There's too many of us for the Indigo Lantern," whose name is Creven, I think, "to teleport. And if pure spectrum energy can't break through that field, then nothing will." The Zamoron says, "We can teleport. Love is the strongest of the emotions." And Kilowog says, "Those things only connect to things you love. So all you can chase romance across the universe, and the rest of us, we're just stuck here." John is ready to give up and says, "It's fine. Sinestro's going to need him. Get out of here." And the lantern the Star Sapphires that was struck down, who was severely wounded, says, "There is another way. My love has bled out. This ring is yours if you'll have it." And John reacts and says, "The Star Sapphire ring? After you brainwashed Fatality and forced her to love me, I would rather die." And she says, "I'm sorry about what happened to Ursinil. We saw those who were hurt and tried to heal them. However hardened they were, they still had the capacity to love. Our crystals amplify love. They do not create it. Whatever emotion Fatality had for you already existed inside of her before she wore a Star Sapphire ring. You have great love in your heart, Lantern Stewart, love for your core. Go to him, my ring." And they're objecting, "Oh, a male has never been worthy." And this says, "The ring has followed her final order." And bam, "John Stewart of Earth, you have great love in your heart. Welcome to the Star Sapphire Corps." It doesn't say Corps. Notably, though, he is still wearing his Green Lantern ring as well. But he's in full Star Sapphire gear, all thonged out and everything.
No, he's not thonged out.
Just kidding.
Come on, Chad. Come on.
I'm expecting.
Somebody's gonna buy that.
I'm expecting lots of fan art to make fun of that. Oh man. And then John says God, country, core, and says tether away, and all of the lanterns bust out of the net and presumably off back to the antimatter universe and to safety. And one of the archers says, I intend no disrespect, Lady Shadowfall, but I've seen your prowess with a bow. You could have shot the ring from the air before it reached his fingers. Why did you let him flee? And she basically says, there's a plan. I don't tell you anything. I don't tell you everything. Um, they'll all be converts very soon. And then next, a White Lantern falls, and Green Lantern New Guardians number 36. So we have our first male Star Sapphire.
Well, technically, yeah. I mean, Guy did have the ring briefly too.
Yes, but he was half and half.
So is John, technically. But you're right, he wasn't chosen. But from going through the proper channels of the ring choosing you, not choosing the ring, then you are absolutely correct. That as far as the Zamorans are concerned, anyway, he is the first male recruit.
This is true. So John's had indigo, he's had black, he's had green, and now he's had Star Sapphire. Right? That's the only ones?
Well, he didn't really have black, right? He just channeled black when he was an indigo.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm not trying to be contrarian. Just based on actual rings, actual color uniforms that he's had. Yes, he's been black, he's been indigo, he's been green. He hasn't been blue, he hasn't been yellow, and he wasn't orange. So that's the one he was going to choose back in War of the Green Lanterns, if I remember correctly. Before Hal said no.
Yeah.
you don't want that one. Which is interesting because you don't see anybody going to find lore fleas in any of this mess.
So what'd you think?
It was okay. I mean, as Chad knows, but most listeners don't, and it doesn't really impact the review at all. That other than the Green Lantern issue, I pretty much picked up all these parts at one time. Last week, I pretty much picked up all the other parts of this, so I had to catch up. But I knew about John becoming a Sapphire. I knew how the issue had ended. It was pretty good. It was better than I thought the last issue of Core. I think almost every issue in this act I think is better than the matching issue of the first act. But I don't think it was cool to see that, again, going back to referencing the white, the shield of the white power that the Weaponer had taken back in the pre-New 52 days, how that still kind of exists, and that the power of the White Lantern is powerful enough to certainly negate not all, but many weapons anyway of the New Gods. That it kind of is an equalizer. But other than that, it was interesting seeing John become a Sapphire. But I don't think it's one of the stronger parts of this act. But it's not. It's still not bad.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of a refresher course on the Star Sapphires in these. Let's see, in this first panel. Our new sisters should be ready soon. Before long, they will wear the ring. Remember, it takes time for the crystal to mend their hearts, to teach them how to love. Because I was just listening to episode 50 of our show. This was back when Jim and Dan had just come back from Jim, Dan, and Jason had just come back from Super Show, and they had interviewed Adam of Comfort and Adam fame, and he was talking about the Star Sapphires, and he said there was a possibility that the Star Sapphires don't necessarily convert everyone that they trap in those crystals into their core. Maybe they just, cleanse them of whatever extreme emotion they're feeling, make them better, basically make them capable of feeling love, and then set them on their way. Well, here it's very clear that they are, mend their hearts and teaching them how to love, and all of these people are going to be Star Sapphires, which we might have known already, but it's been so long since we've seen the Star Sapphires, I've forgotten. So there's that.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. It was a nice touch going back, and because you're correct, that core we really haven't seen that much of that core, other than Carol's annoying presence in New Guardians. The Sapphires have been off the board, other than her, and and even when Fatality was around, that it still didn't have much. They didn't reference the actual core as much because she was kind of like not truly going rogue, but she was off on her own, like Carol's kind of off on her own. So it was kind of nice having a refresher course for that, especially for people who maybe did jump on more in the New 52 era.
You have any comments on anything else, like art or anything like that? I mean, it's pretty consistent.
It is pretty consistent.
Other than the St. Walker wearing a Blue Lantern uniform.
Yeah, that was a good catch, because I actually didn't notice. I didn't notice that the first read through.
We did lose a lantern in this one, so.
And Zamarons.
Well, yeah, I'm just talking about the Green Lantern with the squid body and the giant eyeball.
Yeah, that is true.
All right, wait, I'm up.
You're up for New Guardians.
I'm up again. All right, hold on, let me pull that up. Desktop and New Guardians 36. All right. So, New Guardians number 36 by Justin Jordan. More on that later. Godhead Act 2, Part 3. We arrive, boom, on New Genesis, where Highfather is welcoming Carol and Kyle to the home of the new gods, to New Genesis, and explains how the city is floating above the planet because of, the war, and, we'll never forget, and, all of this. Highfather takes him immediately to a chamber and says, we're ready for you. And Carol asks him, are you really ready? And he says, I have to be. I can feel the life equation eating at me. I don't want to give it up. And he says, I need to do this. And he says, I'm not going to risk the universe. I won't risk you. So he puts his hand in this chamber thing, and the ring is separated from him. And it says, Highfather says, tries to grasp the ring and says the life equation is where it belongs. He puts the ring into his little scepter thing, and he says the process was successful. You're no longer the holder of the life equation. And Carol's like, are you going to give us back those rings you stole? He says, stolen? Those rings are not stolen. That would imply a legitimacy to your stewardship that has never existed. No, these rings are rightfully mine, as are all things. I have sent them for further study. And Kyle's like, wait, no, we did this for the Guardians, the Corps. We earned our rings. And she says, if you're not going to give them back, what are you going to do? He says, I'm going to save the multiverse. And then he explains the history of Darkseid. He says, we'll finally defeat him. I will use the life equation to remake your universe, beginning with Earth. I will give it order. I will give it peace. I will give it victory. And Kyle's like, no, you don't, you said I couldn't do it, and you were right. No person should have that power. And he says, this is the future, and you are powerless to prevent it. And Carol says, maybe he is, but I'm not, and attacks him. As she's attacking Highfather, her power is really being poured on right now, and there's nothing really holding off Highfather, and her power basically goes from 100 to 0 in all a matter of a few seconds. That's how much power Highfather can take without flinching. Kyle tells her to recharge. She says she can't access the pocket dimension that her battery is in. And says, nope, you can't, this is my domain, not yours, and you can't recharge, you can't access your reality. You had only what you brought with you, and he says, we're done here, opens up a boom tube, and sends them down to the surface of New Genesis. And they kind of commiserate, just like, a really brief "I told you so" kind of a thing. Um, he says, "No, he says I made a mistake. I picked the wrong side. This isn't good." She says, "It's not the time to start feeling sorry for yourself. We're not on some distant planet. We're not in some other universe. All we have to do is get back up there and take what's ours." So they're kind of one step at a time. Um, they they go down to the city of Muzz. I don't know what Muzz is. Have they mentioned that before?
When I first read it, I thought it sounded familiar for some reason, but
All right. Well, they okay. So yes. So they kind of the way the art is, it kind of looks like they just are still on New Genesis when they do this. It's kind of hard to tell. You have to read for the boom to notice that they're opening a boom tube and actually going from one end to another. Um, So he says, High Five says, before we can convert the lanterns and then Earth, a test is necessary. So he he opens a boom tube and goes over to the city of Muz. These people are willful and warlike. And he says, you've been blessed. You've been selected to be the first to save all the universes. You were low. I will raise you up. You were confused. I will make you certain. You were weak. I will make you strong. He holds up the scepter and his minion asks if it was a success, and he says yes, and you see the entire populace converted into um new god manhunters.
I when I first saw it, my reaction was Rise of the Third Army.
Yeah,
Lemmings.
right. And then right on over on the planet Quard in the antimatter universe, Sinestro says to the new Guardians that Jordan and Stewart will fail, and they send something and says the White Ring has re-entered our home universe, Sinestro. And then Sinestro says, then inform Raynor that his presence is required. And they say he doesn't have the ring. High Father has the ring. High Father has the life equation. We are already too late. In the next assault on New Genesis and Red Lanterns number 36. What'd you think?
Oi. 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 See, first of all, mini rant's probably coming in a second.
I can't wait because I just did two. No. I just did 2 reviews, so back to back. So you can rant, talk for a while.
It's like, Chad, I'm gonna take a leak. Feel free to rant.
I'll be right back. I'll be
right back. I'll listen to it from the other room.
Yeah, it'll give me something to listen to when I re-listen to the episode with everybody else.
See, it doesn't really seem it matters too much who writes Kyle. It doesn't really seem to matter how many years Kyle's been a Green Lantern, either in in comic book continuity, DC time, or our time. Kyle still makes the same stupid mistakes, and he's still like, first of all, the big red light going off should have been when High Father said to him that, we can't basically we can't separate the White Ring from the life equation. You have to lose, it's basically all or nothing. First of all, that should have been bullshit number one. Pardon my language to Kyle, because he damn well knows he was the White Lantern for a long time before he got the life equation. So since he didn't get the life equation until he crossed over to the source wall, there's no logical reason to think that the life equation couldn't be removed with him still having the White Ring on his finger afterwards, because that's the way it was to start with. So that's number one. And I don't know, it's a bit, I mean, that's number one. That's number 1 through 100. It's like how stupid could he be? And the fact that High Father did such a good Palpatine brainwash job on him in last issue to make it seem like, this is for the best, and I'm here to help you. And even when they first arrive, it's like, pardon my rudeness, welcome to New Genesis. And then 3 minutes later, it's like, well, fuck you, popes. I caught myself. Bleep me out, Chad. It's like, screw you guys. I got the power now, so I'm gonna do exactly what I want to do, and what I told you shouldn't be doing, or no one person should be doing. So going back to a point you made about whether we thought High Father was a good guy or a bad guy, I think completely at the end of Act 2, it's pretty clear that we'll touch upon that in Red Lanterns a little bit more because it becomes a actual plot point that gets discussed in Red Lanterns. That Highfather proves, certainly in this issue, that he's not really any better than Darkseid. He is the flip side to Darkseid, but not on the he is not much better than him. He thinks, as usual, he thinks he's doing the ends justify the means kind of thing, and we've seen it so many times before how that doesn't work well. So the way I know you like Kyle as like this, you think Kyle's good as a really like godlike character, but I think time and time again Kyle proves that at the end of the day he just doesn't have the oomph. He doesn't have the willpower, no pun, for all intents and purposes, to ever have that power and be the most effective with it. That at the end of the day, I would still, if Kyle had the power of the White Lantern, and I still think John or Hal would figure out a way to stop him, even one-on-one. But if you put Guy, Hal, and John together, I still have no doubt they'd figure out a way to stop Kyle, regardless of the power Kyle had. Just because Kyle just doesn't seem to get beyond this. We know he's this everyman character, and that's how he became Green Lantern. And that made him relatable when he first got the ring. But it's also one of the things that people always had an issue with, because though they have retconned the origin, and we've seen him be worthy of the ring even in Blackest Night when he died for a few seconds, and then his ring chose him again. But Kyle was never chosen, not beyond the retcon origin. He wasn't chosen for his worthiness. And making him an everyman made him relatable. But then we come back to these moments where it's just like he just doesn't seem to be able to ever get over even Peter Parker, who was an everyman and was wrong place, wrong time. Peter Parker grew in confidence. He grew into the role he was supposed to be, and he no matter how he got the power, he proved himself more that he was worthy of it. And to me, at least on the bigger cosmic level, when Kyle gets amped up, he just makes these. I don't know. I just why I don't know. I'm sorry. So when I read, and the fact that they took the power from him so quickly, you thought there would at least been, maybe it would have served the character a little better if at least he would have put up more of a fight, or if he realized something was wrong before, even during the process, that maybe he did try to put up somewhat of a fight. But it kind of reminded me of the of the Unholy Alliances, the Thanos machine that he used to pull the power of Oa into the power of Thanos, when Kyle was putting his ring into that contraption. So that's it. Mini rant over. Go ahead.
I don't really have much to say. I mean, it's kind of all there on the page. I enjoyed it. It just in terms of more White Lantern Kyle stuff, could have done without the Carol stuff.
Oh yes. I didn't figure there was any point in even mentioning that, because we both have done it kind of ad nauseum at this point. We don't like the whole Carol Kyle relationship in this book, and the fact that now it's completely crossed the line where Kyle is making it crystal clear that he does have feelings for Carol. Again, whether they were completely on his own, or actually, isn't this the book that Carol makes a reference to at some point? You're gonna have to explain to me why, when he had that white power freak out in the last issue, that she became Alex.
Yeah.
Isn't it in this issue that they refer to that, which I thought was kind of an interest. I'm glad they went back to that it wasn't just supposed to be a visual one-off that they never touch upon. That at least Carol, so Carol picked up on the fact that he's using this power and he's looking at Carol, and yet the person he sees is Alex. So I thought so. Yeah, I don't know. I just think I was looking forward to this issue a lot, and that may have been partially why I was somewhat disappointed in it. But I don't think Kyle came off particularly well. I don't think the art was that great either. But just from the story that we were told, I don't think this was the strongest issue of New Guardians, and it doesn't make Kyle. I don't think it makes Kyle look still extremely naive and gullible to just I don't know.
It's not Justin Jordan's fault. Speaking of,
feel free.
No, go ahead.
Now's the time.
Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
No, Justin Jordan's leaving, guys. It's official. It's evidently been official since April, but DC hasn't bothered to get off their ass and mention it. So Justin Jordan took it upon himself to write it on his own Facebook page. Did he say when?
I think issue 40 is the last one. I think issue 40 is supposed to be the last one.
So probably end of Godhead, and then a couple forced wrap up issues. Maybe he gets the final word on something, and then new creative team, which has not yet been announced.
Assuming the book survives.
Assuming the book survives.
And there's no reason to think at the moment that it's necessarily not going to survive. It's just that the words that he chose about, what about the future of the book, as opposed to saying something directly that was like, new creative team will be announced soon, or I have no, just the language that was used made some people think that it might be hinting that, especially after whatever state the new 52 is in after. What is it? Convergence? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that the thing coming up? That once that is over with, that maybe there's going to be some. The belief is there's going to be some changes to the status quo anyway. Certainly, at least as far as titles, and maybe New Guardians will be one of the ones that. I don't think so necessarily, not right away, but you never know.
Mm-hmm. He shall be missed, indeed.
Yes, I think overall he's done a very good job on this book. I think he did give it a very nice cosmic feel. I think he did a good job with Kyle. We know we don't like the Carol and Kyle stuff, whether that was entirely all his idea, whether that was, kind of like from the Green Lantern group think, whether that was something they wanted to be explored or not. I don't know. That's not one of the stronger points of his run. But he's done a good job. He's done a really good job giving New Guardians themselves, the individual ones, some character, some personalities. So he got to bring. They were blank slates pretty much, other than very brief glimpses that we got of them at the end of Wrath of the First Lantern and the beginning of of Venditti's run, I think, in Green Lantern when they were first there. So he did a really good job at fleshing out the book and those characters in particular. So he's definitely going to be missed. I mean, it's so we've had Sewell and we have him leaving pretty much around the same time, even though the Sewell decision seemingly was much more recent. That didn't seem to be in the hopper for a year, while this was pretty much a year ago. This decision was made. So.
Yeah.
Which I suppose theoretically does, if you want to look for circumstantial evidence, it might give more evidence to the idea that maybe there is something going on with the book, that if they really have known that he was going to be leaving in a year, that you would think they would have had a new creative team ready to go. Either that or they just weren't expecting him to announce it yet, one of the two. Yeah. Or they thought maybe they could talk him out of it. Could be that possibility too.
All right, Red Lanterns?
Red Lantern. So Red Lantern's 36. So we pick up right where we left off last time with Guy and Simon almost being completely wiped out. Almost killed, but not quite, as Simon points out that since Guy was all ready to go after them at the end of last issue, Simon points out, you want to go after them? It's like, they almost killed us, Gardner, and it didn't even look like they were trying. And it's like, you said the word right there, Simon. What? Almost. They didn't see it through. Their mistake. And Simon and Guy talk about how this really doesn't make a lot of sense. The whole Guy a whole massacre just took place of a Green Lantern platoon. It's like Guy's like I agree we have to do something, but I don't think going after Malahedron, and going back and tracing them or tracking them to New Genesis probably isn't the smartest plan. And Guy points out the difference between the Greens just didn't have what it took basically to get the job done. And it goes this. He's referring to basically his Red Lantern ring. And so Simon says, no pun intended, Simon says you want to die, don't you? That's really what it is. What is it? Survivor's guilt? Is that what it really is? And Guy kind of gives them a little rehash about everything we saw happen, the Atrocitus War, essentially, how Guy took over, Guy's band of Reds, and how it all ended up poorly. And Guy points out that, or describes the fact that one of his gifts, or what I'm good at, surprisingly, he's found out over the years, is that I find some other suckers and convince them they should die for me. So he doesn't really. So he says it's not guilt at all. It's just that he's pissed and enough is enough, and he doesn't want anybody else dying for him, and he's not going to be doing a rah-rah speech to get anybody else to fight alongside of him. As far as he's concerned, this is his job, this is his task. He's pissed, and he's going to take care of it. Now we cut to New Genesis, where we see Highfather carrying his scepter around. Malhedron and his women, who were the ones Guy and Simon battled with last issue, show up. Highfather mentions, "Good Malhedron, there's a thing I would have you witness. Behold," and he demonstrates the power of his white life equation weapon. He points out that this scepter holds the power of the life equation. I have tested it more than once, he adds. You see what it can do, but tell me, you were originally from Apocalypse. Does Darkseid have anything that could stand against this? And Malhedron mentions that no, that as far as I know, he's got nothing that can compete with this, but he has a question. He's like, may I ask a question? And you can see Highfather really could give 2 pounds of monkey crap about really taking a question from Malhedron, but he lets him ask anyway. And he makes a very interesting point, which is there is a sort of balance in our conflict with Darkseid. He is not so strong that he can defeat us, but likewise, we can't fully defeat him. I know Darkseid. He is unpredictable, except for in one thing. He will not allow himself to lose. He would rather burn everything than lose. However you obtain this new power, using it could upset that balance. Is that what you really wish? And Highfather says, no, Malhedron. I wish to win. Leave my presence. We see the issue transition to Star Labs in Detroit, where Guy and Simon go to visit Cyborg because apparently they have a boom tube, or they should say they have a mother box. And Simon is there to try to convince Cyborg to send them to New Genesis. Of course, Simon and Cyborg have a backstory related to the Trinity War, which is not good, so he wants Simon the hell out of Star Labs. Much like seemingly Hal does with everybody, or to everybody, he disses Guy Gardner wherever he goes, since even though nobody knows Guy Gardner, they know of him, and what they hear is not good. Simon tries to basically blackmail, for lack of a better word, to blackmail Cyborg into doing it, saying, I kind of have some friends in high places, and that, if you don't want your father pretty much out of a job, you're gonna do what I want, or what we want, to send us to New Genesis. Cyborg points out that even if I wanted to, I can't open a boom tube unless I have the destination. I can't boom you to where you want to go unless we can figure out where it is. I need an energy signature or something to zero in on. And Guy, points his ring he holds his ring hand right in his face. And I think Cyborg pretty much thinks he's like threatening him at first, and he goes, no, energy signature. I've got that. So does Simon. Our rings would have recorded the frequency of the weapons Malhedron and his crew used. So at this point, Guy's ready to go. Simon says that he wants to go with Guy, that this is something he wants to do. He feels the need to go with Guy to help him through this. But Guy doesn't want to leave Earth unprotected. Simon's again mentions that I think I got this covered. So Budge, his little chipmunk buddy, is given the task of protecting Sector 2814 while the two of them go. Once again, twice in the same issue, we see Guy being dissed, this time by another Lantern, as Budge points, or he elaborates that, especially with this Gardner, his reputation among the Greens was erratic at best, and now that he's a Red, it's like, his reputation is well earned. So Guy gets the crappy end of the stick no matter where he goes, pretty much based on rep. At this point, geez, I guess that's a lot of points in this description. I got to stop. That Cyborg opens up the boom tube. before Simon and Guy arrive, Malahedron, who obviously likes cougars because this woman is looks 1,000 years old. She was one of the ones that came down with him to fight on Earth. They're in bed together, and they're having pillow talk. And Malahedron mentions that you know who Highfather reminded me of today when he showed me that weapon? He reminded me he looked like Darkseid. And his lover mentions that they're not as different as they like to pretend. They are no truly good rulers. And Malahedron says, true, but there are many evil ones. I really thought Highfather was better than most. Right now the boom tube opens up. Guy and Simon fall into their bedroom. Malahedron is he's stunned but kind of impressed at the same time. It's like, you came after us? I'm almost impressed. I'm glad I didn't kill you back on Earth. He goes, because now I get to kill you here. Malahedron and his lover have their armor and their weapons back on. They begin fighting with Simon and Guy. Highfather shows up and says, stop. He goes, how many times are you going to prevent me from killing these two? They invaded New Genesis. And then Malahedron kind of realizes, well, I probably shouldn't have said that. He apologizes. Highfather states that, clearly these lanterns are more resourceful than I assumed. After all, they found you, did they not? I would learn from them about their fellows. Place them in a miracle cell. Extract what they know and use any methods you see fit. Keep them alive if you can, but pretty much if they die, you don't really have to worry about me being pissed about it. You see Guy and Simon in their cell. Simon with, great work, Gardner. He's like, we aren't done yet, Simon. Could have fooled me. And that ends part 4 of Godhead.
I like the art throughout this, except for one thing. Cyborg's armor. It just looks weird.
Yeah, it does. It does look, it looks more Ultron-ish.
Yeah. Otherwise, not bad. I noticed Star Labs Detroit.
Yes.
So does this mean we're going to get a Detroit League, or?
It's a franchise. Star Labs Wichita. No, I thought this issue was this issue certainly was less filler than I think we both kind of thought the last issue was. It did serve a purpose. Again, even as Highfather mentions, the Lancers, if nothing else, have proven that they're a little more resourceful than they were given credit for. I think that all the conversations and the observations of Malahedron, I think, are very important as we see Highfather kind of go off the deep end more and more. That he's kind of power hungry, and that now that he's gotten his power and he sees victory, or no pun intended, light at the end of the tunnel, that he's kind of crossing that line into being a megalomaniac, or potentially knocking on that door. I do like the interaction with him. Simon and Guy have a good relationship. They kind of had ever since I think Simon was introduced. I like that. I like their little battle with Malahedron, and even though it was very little actually, but I do like the conflict that being picked up on. I liked it. I thought it was a good issue. There wasn't too much I think to really discuss with it, but I think it was a really good issue.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna mention it here rather than after you talk about Sinestro. There is an issue of Infinity Man and the Forever People. It's number 5. I have not been reading for Infinity Man and for the Forever People, so I have no idea what's going on in that book. But Guy Gardner basically confronts some people who are they're new gods. They're basically like teenagers from New Gods, or maybe young 20-somethings, and Guy Gardner goes after them because they're new gods. It's not really a tie-in, but reading it made me wonder how in the world it fits in, because it's supposed to take place after number 35. But all of this takes place after number 35. Like, basically after Guy and Baz got laid out. And then At the end of 35, they got laid out. They're unconscious. And then 36, they wake up. So I have no idea what's going on.
I guess I guess if
in
you
the
were gonna have to force it into somewhere, yes, it has to fit in somewhere after Guy
well,
and Simon agree to go, to kind
yeah,
of regroup and before they arrive at
I,
Star
I
Labs.
wasn't done yet because they at the end of the issue, uh, Badge comes up with Stell and that box lantern to confront the new gods and Guy.
Ah,
So Badge, who just discovers in 36 that Baz is working with Guy. What? uh, whatever. So yeah, I just thought I thought I'd mention that. Evidently, number 6 is going to have something to do with it too, but I don't know. So we'll see how it all fits in. But this it seems like a pretty damn shitty crossover tie-in, not in terms of story, but in terms of whether or not it actually fits as a quote unquote crossover.
this is true. I did actually look to see. Again, this was one of the drawbacks of picking up all these parts in one fell swoop, other than Green Lantern. That by the time I went to pick up all these parts last week, and some of it I couldn't help because I was away for 1 week, and then we had the snowstorm last week. So even if I wanted to pick it up on comic day, I couldn't have. That by the time I got there, it was like at least a couple. I think it was a couple of weeks after Infinity Men came out. And I'm sure Infinity Men is not a particularly big seller on a good day, so they did not have any more of those issues left on the rack. So I didn't really think it was. I wasn't gung ho to go out of my way to buy it to begin with, but if they had gotten it, I would have bought it just so we could have mentioned it more. But as it turned out, it probably was a good decision, really, not to. I guess I'm not missing all that much.
Nope, nope, not at all. Anything else in Red Lanterns?
No, it was good. It was a typical good Sewell issue, though.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think it kind of picked up the baton that may have been dropped ever so slightly last issue.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So last but not least,
That's
Sinestro.
exactly what I was gonna say. certainly not least. Uh, so Sinestro #7, which is the final part of Act 2 of Godhead. So we begin like a common thread in all these issues for the most part on New Genesis. We have Highfather once again. Seemingly he's got scepter envy because he can't put this damn thing down now. It's like, I'm gonna sleep with this in my bed. He's meeting with Orion and some of the other members of his council. You get again a quick refresher course at some of the events that have happened. The capture light bearers are yours to reshape, which I think are at this point are still just referring to probably Guy and Simon. So they will make fine soldiers of New Genesis, with such power at your command. Yes, not even Darkseid would dare take action against us. And Highfather mentions that his plan is, too long we've been content just having a stalemate with Darkseid, but we're going to end this now. The next time Darkseid kind of reaches out and tries to go on the offensive, he's going to find out that he's fallen into our trap. And Orion's kind of clearly, based on his personality type too, is seemingly preaching for a more aggressive strategy. It's like, look how long, look at the lengths we've gone to get these weapons. Why not take them to war? He goes, my son, we are already at war. So in Space Sector 1014, we see Becca and the rest of her troops who were the ones that were fighting on Nock last time when Sinestro and the Green Lanterns arrived as cavalry. Well, I should say the Sinestro Corps arrived as cavalry to rescue the Green Lanterns who were fighting along with the Indigos. And as Becca's left by herself at this point, we see a energy constructed hologram of Sinestro, which carries on all throughout this issue, which is pretty clever and pretty interesting because he tends to taunt and play head games with her about how easy it was to set some space pirates against you, and it's like they were unafraid and therefore borderline useless. It's like there's a lesson to be learned there, wouldn't you agree? he continues to taunt her. It's like, well, I suppose I am a little more than a child before you knew gods, and I play with my toys for the same reason as any other child, to amuse myself. Because Becca's really trying to figure out why Sinestro, just won't leave her alone. And as the issue goes on, we're still entirely not sure. We think we know, but we're not 100% sure why Sinestro keeps taunting her and preaching to her and playing these games. It's like Becca goes, High Father has decreed that the lanterns must be claimed for the coming conflict with Darkseid. And Sinestro, if you had asked nicely, some of the lanterns might have joined your cause willingly. I wouldn't have, but some others might have. Instead, you chose to strike against some of us, like some archaic press gang, in order to force us to play with you. Who are the children now? And he goes, she's just really getting pissed at all this, and it's like, and some of her troops come back to her now, and she goes, for your love, and Sinestro picks up on that and goes, for your love, I like that. You see, I coaxed those pirates into attacking you, not because I wanted to delay you, but because I love watching you work. Sinestro. Meanwhile, we see while Sinestro has been creating this hologram that he's been talking, or technically he's been standing by Jon Stewart's side this entire time, but pretty much ignoring him. And that's not lost on Jon. It's like, are you even listening to me? Am I boring you? It's like, and pretty much Sinestro snaps out of it eventually, and he says, they haven't found us yet here on Quard. That they'll scour known space before they think to look in the antimatter universe. And he goes, "You're welcome, by the way. For what? For saving you, for bringing you in here. I only assume that in all the chaos, you forgot to show your appreciation." And Jon kind of mentions that I don't have time for these games. It's like, I've got to lead the Green Lanterns, and since I guess he has no one to play off of, since Tal's not around, Sinestro has to go lead you. Perhaps one day, once Jordan steps aside. But for now, you're as much a leader as some scavenger who trails the predator in search of scraps. It becomes clear even by Jon, without saying a word, Jon does say, I have some idea, when Sinestro presses him to whether he has a plan. But where Jon's attention goes, Sinestro picks up pretty quickly that his goal, or his idea, is to use the Indigo Tribe, to use them and their powers of teleportation as a weapon against the new gods. Sinestro adds that, I don't trust them at all. I have no use for them. And some of which we know must go back to when the Indigo Tribe was doing their brainwashed routine on him back in the early issues of Green Lantern in the New 52 run. Jon raises the idea, or poses, I should say, the possibility that they were afraid of the Indigo Tribe because they came to take the Indigo Tribe out, that they were trying to wipe them out. So maybe their teleportation will be a key, because that's what they wanted to eliminate the Indigo Tribe for. Now we get to several pages of bickering between the Lanterns. We see Arisia and Jaruk and a carousel. They're going to square off. We see a nice conversation between Alande and Sora, and Alande mentions that because Sora says, hey, it's kind of like old times, isn't it? And she goes, I suppose, although I can't help but wonder why you defect to the Sinestro Corps the way you did. Sora tries to reiterate to everybody that I'm not a traitor. I haven't joined the Sinestro Corps. There's a reason why I'm here. The Korgorians are my people, and Sinestro is my. And before she can finish that thought, Jaruk, begins to attack her. Alande was kind of curious to what Sora was going to say when she was saying Sinestro is my. We assume Alande was probably thinking that she was going to say Sinestro is my father, but Sora points out Sinestro. What she was about to say was that Sinestro was my responsibility. And if you don't understand that, to hell with you. And then we have a very funny scene because Arkillo now gets into it and goes, Sora, Nick, is an ambassador to the Sinestro Corps and the daughter of our liege. By attacking her, you insult Sinestro himself. And Sora's like talking to herself and going, and now I'm being defended by Arkillo. Even I'd throw myself out of the Corps. So we have a cool panel with the Lanterns trying to curtail Arkillo, even though there's a couple of mistakes on this page regarding which hands Arkillo lost. But the artwork, and I was going to say it at the end, but the artwork in this issue is extremely beautiful, and that's surprising because it's actually Ethan Van Sciver doing the interiors on this issue. And it's been a while since we saw him draw. He draws a really nice Sornik for the most part, and just seeing him draw Sinestro again brings back a lot of pleasant memories. John Stewart too. So John does his best to try to quell, the conflict between the other Lanterns and the Sinestro Corps. He does a moderately good job at it. John's kind of cocky that he's kind of done the job, and he kind of looks at Sinestro. Do you have anything to add? And he goes, of course. The next Yellow Lantern to strike out against any other light bearer will face swift, decisive punishment from me. And pretty much the entire Sinestro Corps almost like puts their head down like, a child that just got scolded. And he goes, leadership takes many forms, Stuart. Mine is simply more efficient. And he just says, gather your council, Green Lantern. We must make ready for war. Now, Sinestro sends Becca still in space, and Sinestro makes another hologram to appear to her. She's like, why are you following me? If you wish to spend time with me, you could always surrender face to face. And Sinestro points out, I'm certain men surrender to you a little too easily in general. But it's like Sinestro doesn't yield that so readily. And he adds, well, you can fold space. So if you really wanted to be rid of me, you could simply vanish. Becca just says, if you're not here to broker terms of surrender, then why do you vex me? What do you want? And he goes, isn't it obvious? I see potential in you. You're more than some foot soldier, and I'd hate to see you cast into the void when your lord and master is beaten down by us children. And she goes, you're quite confident, aren't you? It's like, more than you realize. And then Sinestro's hologram fade. In the middle of it is a Sinestro Corps ring. And the ring cries out to her, Becca of New Genesis, you have the ability to instill great fear. On Quard, we find out what their plans are, that, the idea is, Sinestro spies pretty much have helped us track the movements of the new gods. So the Indigo tribe supposedly can teleport them now, it's right on top of where these new gods are, so they can get the mother box, so they can pretty much attack New Genesis. Indigo 1 does the teleportation, but they kind of realize, something's wrong here. It's like, where are our targets? They pretty much, everything's like foggy or cloudy. John's like, Indigo 1, where have you brought us here? Where have you brought us? Something's not right. Sinestro just stares right at her and goes, you've betrayed us, haven't you? And she has like a little smirk on her face and says, knock. And now we see the fact that Orion and the Divine Guard, that's what it is, right, Chad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, are all on top, about above where the Green Lanterns are, and where all the combined forces of the Lanterns are. And Orion's like, nice try, Light Bearers, but you've got to get up pretty early if you plan to ambush the forces of New Genesis. And they pretty much about to capture the Lanterns, and that ends Act 2.
Oh God, I hated the cover.
Oh yeah, the cover's not good at all.
Well,
that's not your best work there at all of Sinestro.
Yeah, Sinestro is awful. Becca's fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
Sinestro is just god awful on that cover.
Yeah, that's harkening back maybe a little bit too much to like the rebirth looking of Sinestro of Van Sciver when his head was still super, super long. Besides, the look on his face.
Yeah.
But the interiors were great.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like the Eaglesham's art too. I've actually really grown used to it, but it was kind of really nice to see Van Sciver drawing the Lanterns again. I thought it was a pretty cool touch.
What about this part where they say the captured light bearers? Where the hell did you get a blue lantern?
Where?
The first page. The captured light bearers are yours to reshape. They will make fine soldiers of New Genesis. With such power at your command, and then that panel, not even Darkseid would do.
Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. See, I didn't pick up on the guys in the backgrounds more. I thought they were just, again, like I said, I thought they were talking more about what we saw at the end of last issue. But it's also weird that they'd be marked like that. I guess unless we're supposed to believe New Genesis put those tattoos on them, because other than the Indigo tribe, none of them clearly should be tattooed.
Yeah. I just don't know where they
Yeah,
got a
right.
Blue
Well,
Lantern.
yeah, that is weird, and we'll probably never get an explanation about that either. Maybe you hope, but you never. That was a good pickup, Chad. But it was, yeah. I was a little disappointed that they kind of got the whole which hand Arkilla was missing wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
Multiple times actually on the same page when you really think about it. Because even on the same page, he lost his left hand, he lost his ring hand, but yet even on the panel when Arkilla was first getting into battle, you see his right hand fully intact before you see the big panel where he's got the energy constructed fingers on his right hand. But nonetheless, it's still that is a nice looking page though, regardless. Was that supposed to be Salak on that page
Where?
fighting Arkilla?
I gotta get there. Hold on.
I thought it was, but and the only reason I didn't mention it was because he doesn't have the extra arms. So that's why I thought maybe it wasn't really supposed to be. The head made me think it was supposed to be Salak.
No, that's not Salak.
Good.
Yeah.
I like Sinestro's games with Becca. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Is this supposed to be Carol?
No, see, it's funny you mention that because I almost did too. When they were showing all the lanterns, that does look so much like Carol, but yet we know it can't be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely looks like Carol back in the quote unquote classic uniform the non-New 52 Sapphire outfit.
Yeah.
So
definitely enjoyable for sure.
and Sinestro once again continues to come across as arguably even more than Hal, that he's just coming across as the dominant force, the lantern of lanterns in the way these stories are playing out. They're really kicking him up a notch.
It helps that Sinestro's being drawn by Ethan Van Sciver.
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely a nice touch. And I think he's drawing the next issue too. That it's the artwork is, it was really nice. Brings back a lot of memories too. But it's just a really good issue, and and Bunn really has this, and Bunn really enjoys, based on certainly the interview we just gave, he really enjoys this book and he enjoys writing Sinestro, and seemingly he'll be on this book for the foreseeable future, which is good because he certainly gets the character he's writing, and they've made Sinestro pretty much from the get-go, right, move it, and as soon as it came out, it pretty much moved right to the top of the Lantern books, and it hasn't really dropped off.
Yeah. Why does John have the weapon or shield?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why he's carrying that too. Let's go. Let me flip back to that issue of Core real quick.
That's got to be his shield, right?
Yeah, I would assume.
And why is it not yellow? And why is it not got a white trim?
Well, maybe. Well, did it always stay white even when he wasn't using it all the time?
I think so.
I don't know, but just like other people have pointed out, even though you like to think it probably is a plot point, but just like after John got his Sapphire ring, you haven't seen it since in any of the issues afterwards. So you assume he's probably holding it for as an ace in the hole, but you don't see it. You don't get any references to it. So
yeah. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, then we are going to take a break, and when we come back, feedback, I guess, and other things, some surprises here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a good amount of feedback to get to, so that should be a lot of fun.
All right, guys, we'll speak with you in just a moment.
Sounds good.
When
when Captain America throws his mighty shield. All those who choose to oppose his shield must yield. Unless you're a plane, or a bomb, or some ice, then he'll choose to take a nap, 'cause the ice seems nice. When Captain America throws his mighty shield.
And we're back from break, and now it's time for some listener feedback, including social media stuff. Woohoo! I fell super far behind in this, so I basically found some key things, printed them out, and we're going to do it that way. First of all, Dan was talking to us on Twitter. I had posted something about we need reviews over on Stitcher, and we do, guys. We do need some reviews over on Stitcher, because I actually recently discovered we can have reviews on Stitcher. I guess I had never scrolled down far enough on our podcast Stitcher feed to discover that we have that capability. So I was asking for some reviews, and Dan said, "I'll review you right now. Mark, 7 out of 10. Chad, 2 out of 10.
Thanks, Dan. Even though I guess 70% isn't something to be happy about, but I guess by direct comparison, I guess.
You passed.
I know that is.
It's a C.
I look like an A student compared to the grade he gave you, though. On the curve, I would be the A.
I guess all I did was sign my name. That's all I got credit for. But Floto, being helpful, responded back and said, because I had said, although we've been streaming on Stitcher for a while, we have no reviews. Can you fix that? And he had said, done and done. My review is being moderated, and it should show up shortly. And it did. It did indeed. Thank you so much for that, Floto. I actually have it printed out right here so we can talk about it. He gave us 5 stars and said, whether you have a passing interest in superhero comics or you are a diehard Green Lantern fan, you need to have this podcast in your favorites list. Packed with the latest GL comic book reviews and retrospective reviews of Lantern books from years gone by. The LanternCast scores highly in the Geek Cred stakes. Entertaining, educational, and not afraid to have an opinion.
Lord knows the last part's true.
Speaking of, Newsarama. No, just kidding. Oh, man.
Every time, and as I pointed out, I mean, I don't have as many issues with Newsarama, I think, as you do at times.
We're not going on a tangent, are we?
No, it's going to be brief. But every single time I see somebody like on the page talk about whether it's, you need to change, the way the way it loads, to the viewer to look at previews and things like that, or whether it's, one of those quote unquote misleading titles to try to get conversation going, that whenever I see that now, all I think about is you. So but I think that's a good thing though, Chad.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Dan he in a late fashion joined in on the Threshold stuff, and he said, LanternCast, it's your collateral damage. Threshold. # Threshold.
It's damage. There's no doubt about that.
And Scott says, was it me or was Marble? He calls you by your last name. Was it?
Well, I guess that could be that could be kind of good. It could be. It's like I don't know. It's like my battle cry. It's like my recording name. It's Marble.
So I think it was 204 that we were covering the first part of Godhead. And
I think so.
And he said, was it me or was Marvel giving away too many spoilers for Green Lantern 36? # GLCast, # Godhead Act 1 only, # Black Hand.
Yeah, I guess I did kind of, but it was so relevant though. I mean, it's really relevant as we talked about in this issue. We're so relevant to the whole Sinestro Hal relationship, and also even what he was saying to like Des, that it gives you more context. One of the reasons why he used the specific words about calling him a schemer, that there was a specific reason why he said that. So, but yes, next time I will try to do that from going forward, and hopefully even in this episode I did, since unfortunately based on the release schedule that is the final part of Act 2 came out the same day as the first part of Act 3. I will try. Hopefully I did a good job at not doing the same thing again.
Also in 204, I had mentioned that the Green Lantern Green Arrow podcast was returning, and Scott said, I'm all over the Green Lantern Green Arrow episode next week, and then Andy said, excellent, this year's episode. Only joking, Chad. Oh, thanks, guys. I'm not doing, by the way, guys, I'm not doing Twitter and Facebook for the Green Lantern Green Arrow podcast. It's just emails and voicemails. So that's just to help keep the episodes shorter. So that's the only time I'll mention that on this show. Dwayne said, I finally figured out what I'm going to do for the LanternCast contest. Should be able to work on it next week. Dwayne, you tweeted that out on November 16th. We still haven't gotten anything from you, buddy.
He's going to send it in at 11:58 Eastern Standard Time on New Year's Eve. And he will win the contest at this rate.
No, actually, I got a Facebook message from one of our listeners that he is working on something with his band. And I said, band. So that's cool. So at least two entries.
It could be a dogfight to see who gets it under the wire.
Oh, wow. Then I said on Twitter, I said, good morning, listeners. Quick note, my phone's Twitter notifications have been turned off. So I might be a tad slower to respond than I usually do. I did that on purpose, actually, because my phone, I still completely encourage interacting with us on Twitter as much as you want, as often as you want, as at any time you want. But at the time, I had Twitter notifications for the LanternCast turned on my phone. So basically, Mark, you've heard my text tone that Power Rangers, dee. Okay, that sound would go off anytime someone either replied to a tweet or had tagged us in a tweet. Well, someone was like basically they had a lot to say about a certain topic, so they were breaking up their whole 2-paragraph long statement into individual tweets. So at about 3:00 in the morning, my phone just kept going dee. And I was like, God damn it. So I shut it off. And then Scott says, turn it back on, but turn off the vibrate on silent. Sweet dreams. He said, just wait till you have kids and you have to be up regularly at 3 a.m. Oh, man. And then in reference to the Green Lantern Green Arrow podcast, Scott says, I've been looking forward to this for 2 years. And then Andy says, GLGA episode 4 is awesome. Great stuff. And then Floto says, WTF, I only just listened to GLGA number 4 and number 5 is already up. Have I stumbled into a divergent time stream? And then Floto, he also said, these have been great shows. Your interest in the subject matter really comes across. And then Andy says, great episode. I'll email in the next couple of days. So thanks, guys, for all the positive GLGA-related feedback I'm getting over on Twitter. That's awesome. Have you had a chance to listen to either of those yet, Mark?
I haven't listened. I am so far behind. I apologize. I mean, I'm behind even on our own episode.
Don't even worry about it.
I do. It's not like I'm not. I'm avoiding it, or I just playing catch up at work. Having been away, it's making it difficult to catch up. So hopefully, I'm gonna between the end of this week and hopefully at the absolute latest end of next week. Hopefully, I will be completely caught up with everything that you and I have put out. But I am woefully behind, and I do definitely apologize for it.
No, don't worry about it. No big deal.
No, it is. I think it's a big deal. So,
number 4 and number 5 are under an hour apiece, so you're good. You're good there. Jesse says, "Happy anniversary, LanternCast," and Floto said, "I tweeted out, by the way, happy anniversary to us. November 16th, 2008 saw the airing of episode 0, 6 years of LanternCast." And Floto said, "Congrats," and Jesse said, "Happy anniversary." Yeah,
and our first year's in the can now.
That's right. Absolutely. Because we took over with the 5th anniversary. So, that's cool. Then Dwayne asked of both us and Tyler Kirkham, has Alan Scott always worn his power ring on his left hand? And I told him that it was Golden Age GL was the left middle finger, Silver Age was right. I'll get into that later on. But I answered the question, and I said, they don't call us lanternologists for nothing. Actually, technically, we called ourselves that. Still counts. Still counts, right?
It's the same thing.
He says, if it's on a business card...
Potato.
He says, if it's on a business card, it counts. It's not on a business card. We should get on that. Actually, I have a business card right here. Is it on the business card? Hold on. Nope, the foremost Green Lantern podcast on the internet. and then the email and voicemail. Damn it. Actually, I was out grocery shopping today. Tangent. I was out grocery shopping today, and I saw a dude wearing a Indigo Tribe T-shirt. Right. So I I feel like such a creep. I was over in the produce section, and that was going to be the last part of my stop. And then I remembered I needed milk, so I was starting to turn around, and then I saw this dude wearing the Indigo Tribe T-shirt, and I was like, if he's wearing an Indigo Tribe T-shirt, I'm pretty sure he's a fan. So I basically kind of followed this guy over to the meat section.
You were checking out the guy's meat. Not good, Chad. Not
Yeah,
good.
And I walk up to him. I say, Indigo Tribe, are you a fan of Green Lantern? And he kind of lifts his hand up, and I see he's wearing a ring. He's wearing an Aroba Silver ring. I'm wearing my Aroba Silver ring.
I assume was his indigo. I'm assuming.
No. It was one of the silver Green Lantern rings with the Green Lantern symbol and kind of green stuff in the center of the symbol, on the sides of the symbol, and the rest of it, including the symbol itself, and the rest of the ring was silver. Okay. I didn't know what type it was, but yeah, he's been stationed overseas and hasn't had a chance to listen. Or not listen, but read any of the issues for the past year. He said last he read, Rise of the Third Army was happening, or was about to end up, or wrap up rather. So he's got about a years plus worth of stories to catch up on. So I gave him a business card and told him to listen in. I said, we've been going 6 years, man. So we've covered all that stuff. So as you catch up, man, feel free to listen in. He's like, all right. So if you're listening and you're caught up now, thank you for your service, and welcome back, man.
And knock.
And knock.
That's what I really thought you were going to say. That you followed the guy into the produce section just to look at him until he made eye contact with you and say, knock. And if he didn't get it, you would have been in big trouble. What the hell's wrong with you, man?
Then Dwayne tweeted out, with Justin Jordan leaving New Guardians at issue 40, which we talked about earlier this episode. Who do you guys want to take the book next? And I said, my gut choice is Tony Bedard. My out of left field choice is Francis Manapul, just cause. And he said either would be a great choice. I just want to see Francis Manapul on a Lantern book, and I kind of want to see him on New Guardians, because I think the crazy cosmic, all over the DC Universe space stuff with lanterns would look cool with his fun kind of style.
And of course, as a pipe dream, you always think it would be nice to have Ron Mars revisiting the book, especially since the landscape has changed so much.
That's true.
But we will see, and of course the question will also be whether that book survives, and then just based on the semantics of what Mr. Jordan wrote, that it left it open to interpretation, which may be just up, may mean absolutely nothing, but it certainly has given some people the idea that may suggest, or does suggest, that book isn't going to be long for the Green Lantern universe. But we will see. Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah. And then last tweet we've got from Scott was today, actually, as we record this. Have you considered breaking up the Godhead acts into 2 podcasts? Waiting too long to hear your thoughts on John and GLC 36. And I tweeted back and said, chill out. Because we were recording it tonight. But
I've tried.
You're hearing it now, Scott. Are you good? You calm down. I gave you 2 Green Lantern Green Arrow podcasts, and you've been waiting for those. Can you just hold on a sec? Listen to me bitching about it.
I gave you the best podcast of my life.
Our listeners want more of us, and they enjoy our show so much they like all aspects of it and ask for more quicker, and I complain. It wasn't a real complaint, guys. It was not real. Oh, but that's the end of Twitter. So forever.
Maybe so.
We got several emails. Do you want to go ahead and take the one from Andy?
Sure, we'll do Andy.
And just kind of break it. I guess we'll break it up paragraph by paragraph or point by point.
Okay. Hi guys. Well, that paragraph will not be dissected. I have just finished.
Hello, Andy.
Hi, Andy. I have just finished listening to episode 204. Thanks for yet another great episode. You're welcome, America. Getting 6 books covered in one show was impressive and with a good balance of commentary. For example, Red Lanterns didn't need much discussion. I agree with Mark's overview, and I thought that the story was better than I expected.
Yeah, better than I expected, but still the weaker of them because not a whole heck of a lot happens. That even a whole heck of a lot that's really pivotal to this. I mean, I guess when you take into consideration what happens in the issue we just covered, then yeah, I guess you kind of needed that build up. But technically, couldn't you have just squeezed that prior issue and this one together, and it still would have made sense?
Oh yes, I agree, and I think I also I think he's talking about the Godhead story was better than he thought,
right?
Not just that issue,
right?
But either way, you're 100% correct that the first issue of the Act 1 issue of Red Lanterns was essentially, it almost was filler.
Yeah.
It probably was the least substantial of all of them. But the Act 2 issue, I thought was much better. So, next paragraph. What I thought about when I read the books was that they could be read in one of two ways. On one level, they can be enjoyed as what they are, and they are a good read. On the other hand, if you start to think too much about continuity and past history, you can quickly and easily find fault with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably, I agree with that. Yeah. You were dead right about the power levels. There's not much of a story when none of the cores can put up any resistance to the new gods. The writers have given themselves quite a challenge to turn that one around. Some things in that regard didn't make much sense to me. For instance, I always thought that Larfleeze is the embodiment of the orange energy and doesn't actually need the ring, so he shouldn't be so easily defeated. Did you also think this, or have I got it wrong?
Well, Ophidian was his entity was trapped in his power battery, and to my knowledge, the Orange Core didn't have a central power battery, right? It was just the actual power battery that
Larfleeze, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Ophidian was in that, and since there was only one Orange Lantern in terms of a physical being, not a construct, Larfleeze was, constantly charged to like 6,000% or some crap like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean he could use the power without the ring, without the battery. I wonder, because we haven't read Larfleeze, and I don't remember if the Larfleeze series was taking place and still being published up into the ends of Lights Out.
It was, but they never really gave us I don't think they ever gave us a proper where it fit in continuity, where the events of his series fit in. But they did deal with the fact that he was basically a living battery. That is something that did come up during the I think the Revenge of the Orange Lanterns or Revolt of the whatever they called it when all the avatars came back to life.
Yeah.
So I think and how I approached this question when I answered it when I emailed him back was that technically speaking, all they did was take his ring. They didn't really fight him. They didn't physically defeat him. They just kind of like almost did a flash thing and run by him and rip the ring off his finger.
Yeah.
So it's possible, though we have no evidence of this, it's possible that Larfleeze could have put up a better fight than maybe many, if not all, the other individual lanterns if push came to shove. That didn't happen. You could also kind of speculate that maybe that's why they approached Larfleeze the way they did.
Yeah.
If they really understood who they were, if they had done enough reconnaissance to know what they were dealing with, then maybe that's why they took that approach of doing like a drive-by essentially and getting the ring off his finger so they wouldn't have to deal with him going toe-to-toe because he would be more of a threat.
Right.
But maybe as Act 3 plays out, maybe we'll get more of an explanation of that, but sometimes you don't hold your breath. You don't know.
Yeah.
So he goes, regarding the new gods, you were half right about Highfather and Darkseid's sons. Orion is Darkseid's son, but it is Mr. Miracle Scott Free who is Highfather's son. The two were swapped out when they were young in order to maintain peace between New Genesis and Apocalypse. That is why Orion comes across as somewhat aggressive, which is continuing previous continuity, essentially, based on his personality. Mr. Miracle is currently on Earth 2. The rest of the new gods haven't shown up on Earth 2 yet.
Okay.
However, I think that DC has a bit of a continuity problem with the new gods in general. We know that the Green Lantern history pre- and post-New 52 is relatively intact in this history. Jon Stewart was partly responsible for the destruction of Xanshi. This happened in Cosmic Odyssey, a story in which the New Gods played a big part in cooperation with the superheroes of Earth, including the Lanterns. If we assume that Cosmic Odyssey is erased from history, then the Jon Stewart-Fatality relationship is fundamentally changed. If it is still a part of history, then the New Gods have memory problems. So what do you guys think? Is the whole of GL history intact, or is it selectively erased to suit whichever story is currently being told?
The latter.
And I try to give a little bit more benefit of the doubt. I don't think it's that blatant where literally it's like who's ever sitting down at a given moment just kind of rewrites history or forgets potentially what was how it was reworked like 3 months ago. But we know it's not entirely intact, and we keep going back to the same point, which is the Coast City was supposedly not destroyed now, but yet Hal became Parallax, and we've still never gotten anything close to an explanation how that was even remotely possible in the context of everything we've ever seen, how that would make any sense. So we're kind of going to and as Godhead comes to an end, we're going to get a little bit more of a trip down that street because of the fact that we're going to be dealing with Mongol, who seemingly is the Mongol that was part of the Sinestro Corps and ripped out Orkillo's tongue and everything else. But yet, as we know from Villains Month, that origin they gave him did not seem like it was the same Mongol. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of dodge that bullet too. Since even in the New 52, we saw the pre-New 52 Mongol, the one who was trapped in the Central Power Battery. We actually saw a couple of panels of him after Hal and Sinestro deactivated the power battery on Korogor.
Right.
That we saw him floating underneath, which I thought was actually a nice touch at the time to not forget that he was trapped in the Central Power Battery, that they kind of acknowledged that. So maybe some of these pieces are going to come into place now once we get into that arc. But Green Lantern history, not completely intact, more intact than pretty much almost everything else along with Batman, but I don't think we're ever going to know, since they obviously didn't do a whole lot of pre-planning.
To be fair, I haven't read Cosmic Odyssey yet, and actually it's the third time I've heard it mentioned today. So I think that means it'll be in my near future.
So that wraps up his email.
Yep. So Jesse?
Actually, we'll do Jesse. Hey guys, I was looking at some sales figures and also thinking about the Godhead storyline. It makes me think that some Lantern books won't survive. Specifically, Red Lanterns and New Guardians. I think Charles Soule signing exclusively with Marvel is the nail in the coffin for Red Lanterns. He was probably the only thing keeping that book alive. I think Kyle will go back to being just a green at the end of Godhead. Also, I haven't seen any tweets from Justin Jordan lately about New Guardians. Of course, we've dealt with that already. Now I'm just speculating. I'd like to know what you think.
I see you replied to him. By the way, guys, if someone replies back to your email, it's probably Mark.
Not exclusively, but I try to, whenever I see an email, I do try to reply quickly.
Yes.
I do the same thing at work, so I think it helps. I think it builds a good rapport between, or a good relationship. I think to do that. So.
You said the same thing. I agree with you. I think Kyle remains white. I don't think he goes back to being a green. If he goes back to being a green, I'm gonna be kind of pissed because as I've stated again and again and again and again, I think Kyle is a good God character. Like giving him the power of a god without the attitude of a god fits Kyle Rayner, I think, perfectly. So I think that works. As far as Red Lanterns and New Guardians, I think regardless of what happens, regardless of who comes on the book, I think Red Lanterns and New Guardians days are numbered anyways. It just depends on it's a matter of when, not a matter of if. Because I seriously doubt we can maintain. Now we have 5, but forgetting Sinestro, I seriously doubt we can maintain 4 or 5 Lantern titles for any substantial length of time. I think eventually it's going to go back to Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps. Whether or not it's still Red Lanterns and New Guardians alongside that, or if it's just Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps, or if it's Green Lantern Corps, and then they come up with some other different Lantern title that takes the place of Red Lanterns and New Guardians. I don't know, but I don't think Red Lanterns and New Guardians is going to be sticking around now for any substantial long amount of time.
As we just discussed not too long ago, New Guardians right now is the one that's probably the only one, as of the time we're recording this anyway, it's the one that the future is not really, is the most unclear. We know it survives Godhead. Based on the solicits, we know all the books survive Godhead. We do know that Red Lanterns, and we can talk, we'll probably talk about this in, I think, if more probably next episode, because this episode we have a lot of stuff to deal with. The Red Lanterns, they already have a new creator, a new writer for Red Lanterns. So they do have a direction that they're going with for Red Lanterns. We know Sinestro, Bunn has pretty much said that, he's going to be writing Sinestro for the near future, and, as things may eventually come in the way, but as far as he's concerned, he's going to write that book as long as DC wants him to write that book, because he likes doing it, which is good because we like reading it. So I think Sinestro is going to be safe for a while. Yeah, overall I agree. Red Lanterns and New Guardians, you don't know. I mean, New Guardians could definitely be folded into a Green Lantern Corps kind of book, especially with we don't know what's going to happen to the actual New Guardians themselves yet. We don't know if after Godhead, we kind of get the impression that after Godhead they're going to be more of a back on OI, hands-on kind of thing. And if that's the case, then that certainly would help or feed the speculation that the New Guardians book may not really have can't say it doesn't have a purpose, but it may not have any real focal point anymore, that it could be kind of aimless to try to get a direction of what this book is trying to be about and what it's trying to accomplish. Red Lanterns, I don't know. Red Lanterns, we kind of suspected that they were going to be in trouble once Charles Sewell left, because even as good as that book has been, the sales have not been great. But the book's been great, but the sales haven't been great. So now you have the first, you have another turnover on creative teams for two of these books. It's going to be, I would agree that I think those books are the ones on the chopping block first. I would certainly be stunned if Sinestro got the axe before either one of those books at the moment. Not just because of how it's being written, and it's just the fact that Sinestro also is seemingly he's a big factor in where we're going with Green Lantern and in the mythology and the mythos. So I think it's important that book serves a purpose, and there seems to be a direct. They have a game plan for what Sinestro is trying to do, what the Yellow Lanterns are trying to accomplish. So I think that book, for many reasons, is safe right now. So we will see. I mean, it'd be nice if I haven't really paid much attention. We should do this. Certainly, we should do it by the time we do Act 3 about the sales for how Godhead has been selling. Because you'd like to think it would be nice if this story arc would give a big boost to Green Lantern, and as in long term, not just a short term thing, and then it drops like a rock as soon as you go back to the regular issues. But we certainly are far removed from the golden age, of Green Lantern when it has during the Jeff Johns run, certainly from a sales and interest point of view. And who knows what it will take to get us back to that point, but we're certainly nowhere near it at the moment. So almost all the books other than the flagship title probably at least are in jeopardy as far as their current continuity or game plan or focal point. Core could still survive and be totally changed around, especially if Guy and Kyle get kind of merged back into it.
Yeah, for sure. Facebook?
Facebook.
All right. I was talking about the anniversary of the LanternCast, and Juan says, "Great, good guys. I can't even remember the other guys that are doing the Sliders cast." And then Dan responded, "Yeah, those guys suck." Oh man! And then inspired by Dwayne's tweets about the ring being on which hand, I said, "Well, it is common." I said, "History lesson time." So you guys get a history lesson too. This time it's inspired by Dwayne over on Twitter. I said, while it is commonly known that modern Green Lanterns, Silver Age and onward, wear their rings primarily on the middle finger of their right hand, assuming their physiology allows for this, The Golden Age Green Lantern, Alan Scott, wore his ring on the middle finger of his left hand. The choice of ring placement for Alan was made by creator Martin Odell. Despite heavy involvement by John Broome and Gil Kane in the creation of Hal Jordan, the decision to switch the hand was made by Julie Schwartz, grand architect of the Silver Age of DC Comics. And then Dwayne said, I wonder why the middle finger. Could it be so that Alan could wear a wedding ring on the same hand? And I said, I'm not certain. That is a side of the story I haven't heard before. Fortunately, we have the fortune of counting Mr. Nodell's granddaughter, Jackie Nodell, among the friends of the show. Perhaps she might know. And Dwayne says, Dowd says, I actually saw it as centering it on the hand. I always wore mine on the middle finger, not realizing I was following tradition. And then Dwayne said, I wonder if they factored in the GL ring placement when deciding on the placement of the Legionnaire ring. And then Dowd says, it just makes sense to me to have it on the middle finger. It's a fist, so the ring should be on the middle. The ring finger is for a special ring. To put something else there feels like it cheapens that hallowed spot. Dwayne says the Legionnaire ring is on the right finger of the right hand, if memory serves me right. And Jackie actually responded, because I had tagged her, and Jackie Nodell, she's, like I said, granddaughter of Alan Scott's creator, Martin Odell. And she says, I'm sad to say I don't know, but I will keep my eyes peeled and ears open if I ever hear anything to explain it further. So that's cool. And then we actually got a new follower that Mark and I were interacting with, Christian Fuentes. So Christian, thank you for. He's not really new. He's kind of he's an old listener, but back anew, I guess, right?
Yes, that he's new for us. he's acknowledged our worth now. So now he's accepted us as one of the tribe.
Oh man. We had a good back and forth, and I won't read the whole thing, but at one point he goes, spoiler question, does it come up that you guys are dealing with crossover after Lantern crossover? I could imagine a rant or two. He said, I could imagine a rant or two, or a, quote, what the hell? And then Mark said, oh yeah, that is not lost on us. Our rants are our Chadsmore, but not exclusively. Middle name. He says, I rather love it when a host rants, whether I agree with it or not. Food for thought either way. So
he's gonna love us.
You're gonna love our rants, man. So that was Christian Fuentes. He stopped listening in 2012, right? Is that what he said?
I think that's
yeah.
Right.
So he's back now and he's listening. But he's starting back with, what did he say? He said. Which one here? He's starting with episode 141. So there's that. So that's it for Facebook. Do you want to cover Gmail? I can or an email. I can do one of them if you.
Yeah, do the tweet one, since it would be appropriate if you do that one.
Okay. All right. If it'll freaking load. There we go. Oh, he says this might be the 20th tweet. The 20th. What the fucking. He said this might be the funniest tweet reply I have ever seen, and it's a tweet. We have a follower on Twitter who I think is confusing us because our name is LanternCast. He keeps asking us on Twitter where the actors are. So he thinks that we are actually the cast of Green Lantern, the movie, and he doesn't seem to get it. I don't think he's a follower. I think he's just trying to get any Green Lantern stuff. I think it's just a kid on Twitter, and he won't get it. So I in all caps with periods after every word, I said, "This is a podcast about Green Lantern. We have nothing to do with the movie." And then I included a link to Wikipedia's definition of a podcast. So I was being an ass. I definitely agree with that, but I tried to be cordial and tried to figure out what this particular individual on Twitter was trying to ask of us, and they just kept repeating themselves, and I was like, I don't have time for this.
So you tried to be a charming ass, if
I
nothing
tried
else.
to be a charming, impatient asshole, and it did not work out. So I just became an asshole. So you want to do Scott's Godhead comments part 1?
Yep. Part uno.
We'll just do the whole thing.
Yeah, no. Hi guys, as part of the Twitter contingent, I wanted to join in on the emails coming through to you guys today. I only had a few comments tonight. First, I want to say how bitterly disappointed I am that Red Lanterns is a part of Godhead. Issue 35 with Guy meeting up with Baz was an absolute huge waste of time.
No need to comment on that, guy. Man, we agree with you.
We're in the same club. As we know, Charles Soule only has a few issues left with us, and he has been absolutely fantastic so far. Why does he have to be dragged into yet another event like this? Second, how long into Godhead do we have to wait until we see Darkseid's side of the story? He better not show up in Act 3, Part 6, or whatever the last issue is. Actually, now that I think about it, Darkseid will probably show up in the last issue and will kick off the next event. What do you think? Thanks, Scott, self-appointed head of your Canadian Twitter contingent. I don't think Darkseid's showing up at all, honestly.
I don't think so either. He's busy over in Future's End or whatever. No, World's End and Earth 2. Although, I don't know if he is.
But then again, to be fair, I never really thought Darkseid was showing up in this event.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a logical assumption because you are dealing with the new gods, and because Highfather is just so friggin' off the deep end about obsessing about Darkseid. Like, wow.
I'll read his Act 2 email to go in with what he's saying here because he mentions Darkseid. He said, I saw your tweet today about Godhead Act 2, and to tell you the truth, I'm bored. We're 11 issues into a 17-issue story arc, and there's absolutely no sign of a war with Darkseid coming in this story. I apologize if you guys are loving this, quote, epic event, but I just can't wait for it to end so the titles can go back to their individual stories. I'm flabbergasted that 5 titles are on this, and hardly anything has happened that couldn't have been told in a fraction of the issues. I'm ranting now, so while I'm at it, I cannot believe how easily Kyle gave up the White Ring. Can you believe we're already 2 trade paperbacks into this story? Are you guys going to buy the hardcovers? Looking forward to your thoughts on this podcast. As you've already heard our thoughts, but no, I'm not buying the hardcovers.
I'm not buying the hardcovers. I'm not buying the soft covers.
Yeah, I haven't.
I'm not buying the wallpaper version of the toilet paper version.
I don't think.
Not because I hate it, just because I have the issues. I really don't need to own it in another form.
Right. I don't think I've bought a single trade, whether it be softcover or hardcover, of the new creative teams at all, regardless of which series I like or not. Now, I think Sinestro, I'll probably get the first trade because that has nothing to do with Godhead, but it's its own standalone kind of little story arc, and it's good. And I think I'll probably end up getting the soft covers of the Red Lantern series by Charles Soule, because up until Godhead, it's basically its own thing. I mean, I know it crosses over with Supergirl, but I think they're trading it that way too. So there's that. I want to get new Guardians in trade format, and I think I could, but I don't think it's going to be worth it because too many of those issues cross over. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, no, not. And yes, I agree with you. I've been saying it for a long time, and now you guys are finally feeling the the horribleness of what it means to be constantly crossing over with everything else that's in the family of titles. If my point early on, now a year ago, when Mark and I first took over this show, it wasn't made then, it's being made now, that you're experiencing a 17-part crossover storyline across 5 titles. You guys get it now? You guys feeling what I'm feeling? Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?
What the Chad is cooking.
For
For the dozens and dozens of Chad's fans. It's like, and, you know, the ironic thing is about this, and as far as as far as the White Lantern ring and Kyle giving it up, I'm sure at this point, hopefully, I don't think it'll rank highly in the LanternCast rant pantheon compared to Chad's, but at this point, you would have already listened to, I guess, hopefully my pseudo rant about my thoughts on that. But
Amen.
What? Amen.
Amen. I echo your previously stated sentiments.
But it's like, I don't know. I think this. I do like Act 2, as I've said. I like Act 2 better than Act 1, and I'm not as completely banging my head against the wall that this is 17 issues long now as I was when this first thing started, especially because I didn't like the one shot too much, and Green Lantern I didn't, part 2, Act 1 part 2 didn't do much for me either. So now I'm a little more invested, and I thought there was a little more that happened in Act 2. Yes, it could have been much shorter. It didn't need to be. You didn't really need 3 acts. Yes, you could have made it at least 2 acts, cut it down at least an act. But I'm interested to see how it plays out. Now they could completely screw this up by the time we get to the finale, and it's like, wow, this really sucks. I mean, everything I thought this thing was going to be when I first heard about it, it's back. But at least I'm not completely as turned off by it. But again, I also, like you mentioned too, I never really thought Darkseid was going to be factoring into this, other than being the poster child for High Father's obsession. So, but we'll see how we have. But we have 5 more parts, right? 5 more parts. We have all the issues, the other 4 issues,
for a second,
and then we have
you saying parts with acts. I thought 5 more acts.
Oh God! If we had 5, forget it. If we had 5 more acts, we might as well just put ourselves in a cryogenic chamber and thaw us out.
Podcast over.
Then maybe because we still have Core, New Guardians, Red Lantern, Sinestro, and it's an annual, right? One of the annuals ends this thing.
Yes. I think so.
So yeah, so we still have a lot to go, but hopefully it'll be halfway decent. But I don't know. We'll see.
All right, and then you want me to read this last one, or you want to take it? His thoughts on Justin Jordan.
Oh, that's right. Because what would you prefer?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Scott says, I mean, we've already made our thoughts known, but he's chiming in here. He says Justin Jordan is leaving, and I'm pissed. In my opinion, he was the best writer in the series. We agree with you there. And although he took the high road with his comments about leaving, I have a feeling the stifling environment around constantly being interrupted by ridiculously long, quote, epic events killed his creativity. The few 2-issue stories that we were able to get from him on New Guardians were great, and I look forward to his future titles. Bummed out in the heart of Canadian Scott.
Now that's an email, Scott.
That's right. Justin, if you're listening, there you go, buddy. We echo his sentiments. You are sorely missed, or will be sorely missed. And you probably won't admit to it online, but I think Scott's right, at least in a fashion.
He could be right in a fashion. I mean, based on what Justin said, that more or less this had been like a year in the making of him leaving.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, that reading what he said, that more or less the timing of his departure was pretty much, I guess, DC, and he kind of, one way or the other, they knew, that basically he was going to have a year ago that he was going to be leaving around this time. So it could be. It could be a driving force on that. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how, if any, in any measurable way, what this whole New Gods crossover really does for not just DC, but does for Green Lantern. Because I'm not really on that level. I'm still not really feeling it. But then again, my feelings about the New Gods are pretty straightforward anyway. I mean, I don't find them particularly interesting or worth reading about for the most part. So I don't know. It's something, especially in Green Lantern land, definitely is not. Something is rotten in Oa or Mogo. Something is amiss. Even though, to be fair, I think at least in the last few issues of Green Lantern, this has kind of been Vendetti's best work. I think consistently anyway. I've enjoyed reading Hal Jordan. And that's something in most of his issues so far. I can't really necessarily say that's the case. But maybe because he's been interacting a little more with Sinestro, and they always play off each other well too. But and even him and Black Hand, I think they've interacted. I think the Green Lantern issues of Godhead, spoiler alert, including the one that just came out, I think they all do, a pretty good job of getting Hal Jordan to be more like the Hal Jordan we know. So I do think that's a plus anyway that's come out of this.
All right, guys, that is that for feedback. Now we do have our, just talk about the contest and the closing real quick. But I did receive something in the mail a few weeks ago. There is a guy by the name of David Golding, and he is, I'll read from the back of this book here. David Golding is a British comic book artist and writer with an artistic style which has been compared to that of Alex Ross, Brian Hitch, Doug Braithwaite, and the late, great Jack Kirby. Predominantly a comic book illustrator, he has also worked heavily in the US and UK film and TV industry as a designer and storyboard artist. He has actually come up, you might have heard me mention it before, maybe even on the podcast itself, the greatest comic quiz book in the multiverse. I had saw this as an announcement out of San Diego, and I had tweeted, there goes I'm hitting puberty, guys, in case you didn't know. No, what had happened...
A very special episode of the LanternCast.
A while back, we got a new follower on Twitter, and I recognized the name. And I clicked on it, and it was this guy. It was David Golding. And I was like, I knew I recognized this name. So I tweeted him and told him, hey, I'm really excited for your quiz book. I heard about it being mentioned, and I can't wait to get my own copy. I just need to, when it comes out, I'll have to, save up some shekels and get it. And he actually sent me a preview copy of it for free. And he even did a little sketch in the front of Kilowog on the title page. And that was awesome of him. Completely free. All he asks is that we read a couple of the questions on the air. And of course, guys, we're going to. Not just because he asked us to, because it's a comic quiz book and it's broken down into sections. Now, unfortunately, since he gave me the book, I have all the answers. I know all the answers, so I can't quiz myself because that won't be fair. But what I have done is I have asked Mark, because there is a Green Lantern section in here specifically to Green Lantern. Now, there are other sections in here that relate to like the JSA and the Justice League and other stuff that are Green Lantern related, but more specific to those topics. This is a section of 50 questions specific to Green Lantern. To make it fair to Mark, I have told him to randomly pick 5 numbers between 1 and 50. And I will ask him those questions, give him a second to answer it. If he can't answer it, I will give him the 3 multiple choice options that are available. Now, Mark, if you know right away you're going to need the multiple choice, just let me know and I'll tell you right away.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let me I'm on the section for the Green Lantern questions. Let me just get to the answers real quick. So there they are. Now, what is your first number choice between 1 and 50?
22.
22. What was the name of the android army created by the Guardians?
The Manhunt.
That's right. You are correct. 1 for 1. Ding, ding, ding. Next number.
28.
28. What is the name of the ancient entity who embodies the yellow light of fear?
Parallax.
There you go.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Question number 3.
37.
37. All right. What is Saint Walker's real name?
Brody.
Brody what?
Brody Walker.
Yes, there
Isn't it?
you go. You are correct.
Brody Biff Walker.
Question number 4.
41.
41. In which space sector is the Black Lantern Central Power Battery located?
Give me the choices. I think I know it, but give me the choices.
A. Sector 616. B. Sector 666. C. Sector 911.
666.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
911, baby. We need help.
What is 49? Okay, 49. Tomar Ray is a native of which planet?
Zudar? Is it Zudarian?
Yeah, Xudar.
Yeah.
That is correct. Let me give you one I think you might not get. Just for the heck of it.
It's all right. I've done fairly well, so if I shit the
You're
bed on this
five
one,
of
I'm
five.
okay with
Five
it.
of five. What is the name of the ancient? Oh no! What is the name of the alien merchants, traders, slavers, and conquerors of the Vega star system?
Is that the spider girl?
Yes. Yes. I figured you would get that, but that one would be a little harder for someone who isn't just a casual fan of Green Lantern, or maybe even the Jeff Johns era. How about this? The Guardian Ganthet is a member of which godly overseers of the multiverse?
Oh. The quintet?
The Quintessence.
Quintessence, damn it. I knew it was something like that. It's been a while since I was close.
That's true.
I was close.
That's true.
But you're right, with quintessence, I remember that all with Gog and Magog and all that stuff too.
Yeah. All right, how about this? What is the full name of the Golden Age Green Lantern? The full name.
I don't remember Alan Scott's full name.
Alan Ladd Wellington Scott.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how much you know about the Golden Age Green Lanterns. Let me ask you this. Who was the sidekick of the original Green Lantern?
Oh, that's that Darby Dorble, whatever his name
Doiby
is.
Dickles.
That's it. I knew there were double D's in there somewhere.
Last.
Yeah, I'm not.
Last one.
I have no problem with you asking me about it, but yes, Alan Scott's definitely not my area of expertise.
Last one. From which planet does Kilowog originate? You got to get this one without me giving the options.
Bolivar Vix.
Bolavax Vic, but yes.
Vax. Okay.
Yeah, it's Bolavax Vic, V-I-K, not X.
That's it.
But yeah, so this is the greatest comic quiz book in the multiverse. It's actually it's available on Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble. It's actually I know for some of us out there, those questions might be a little easier, and actually David admitted to that. These are meant for fans of comics. These are not meant for people like us. We are self-proclaimed experts on Green Lantern. This is not, expert brain-bending stuff. This is meant for you to read, cover to cover and quiz yourself on knowledge, not necessarily just say, oh, let's see if I can do some brain-busting Green Lantern questions or anything. So this is more overall comics than anything. There's tons of stuff in here that is really awesome. I'm a big fan of the Flash, and maybe I don't know some of the answers in here. So here we go. How about this? Look, one of these, DC Silver Age. Who is the creator of Metal Men? It's either A, Dr. Will Magnus, B, Dr. Bill Magnum, or C, Dr. Phil Mangles.
It was Magnus.
I'm pretty sure it's Magnus. Let me see. Yes, it is. I knew that made sense. That was something. Volume 1 of DC Comics Showcase was canceled in 1970 with which issue? 93, 94, 95. 93? DC Comics was canceled. That was number 40. Yeah, 93. That was just a guess, though. Yeah, but
was a good guess.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here. That's pretty good. So I really enjoyed it. I was really looking forward to it when it was announced with during San Diego, because I haven't seen a quiz book that isn't specific to maybe DC or specific to Marvel or super easy or part of a game. This is just a quiz book, period. And I thought that was a cool concept. Now, there's a lot of comic art in here, but because of licensing and stuff, I imagine he wasn't able to get DC stuff on here. So you'll see what looks like a lot of creator indie comics images on the cover and on the inside throughout it. This is all David Golding's stuff, his artwork. And I'll post a picture of not just the book, or actually, rather, I will post a link to the book Either
Yeah, I was gonna
either
say,
on
that would be
Amazon
good.
or on Barnes and Noble, wherever I can find it first, and post that on the Facebook page. So if you go to facebook.com and search LanternCast, you should already be following us or liking us there rather, and you'll see that post on there. And I'll also post alongside that a picture of the sketch he did for me of Kilowog in the front cover. So feel free to follow David Golding on Twitter. And definitely buy his book. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Let's see. The sections are Golden Age of Comics, Fawcett Comics, EC Comics, DC Comics, Golden Age, Superman, Batman and Robin, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Aquaman, Hawkman, Justice Society, Atom, Green Arrow, Justice League, Teen Titans, Doom Patrol, Timely Comics, Captain America, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Hulk, Avengers, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. There's even an Image Comics section and a Modern Age of Comics section. There's all kinds of stuff in here. So definitely pick this up. Its back cover says £10 99 cents. Is there a different word for cents over in the UK? Whatever. So check that out. Now we've already been recording way too long, but contest. You want me to breeze through it real quick, or you got it?
Yes, breeze. You breeze, baby.
LanternCast testimonial contest. Actually, guys, you know what? Screw it. There is a post over on the website, LanternCast.com, where I have listed all the questions you would be asking about that contest and what you need to do to win that contest. The prize, a softcover copy of Green Lantern Heroes Quest, the novel written by Denny O'Neil. A Green Lantern Rebirth collector's set, which comes with a softcover copy of Green Lantern Rebirth with 2 action figures of Green Lantern Sinestro and Green Lantern Hal Jordan, both with their power battery and stands. There also is a set of Blackest Night rings from black through white, although white and black I don't believe are pictured in the picture that's on the website. What you have to do, come up with some creative way of expressing your love and fandom of the LanternCast. Whether it be about the main podcast or Green Lantern Green Arrow podcast, whether you want to write a song, make a piece of art, edit some prior episodes into some cool collaboration thing, write an awesome review, I don't know, create a YouTube series or video review about the show. I don't know. Figure out something. If you have an idea but aren't sure it'll work, email us at lanterncast.com. Let us know what the idea is, and chances are it's probably right. And the contest ends at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on December 31st. At that point, Mark and I will grab all the entries we've received, pick our top 5 favorite, toss them in a hat, and then we will choose out of the hat which one wins the grand prize of the prizes I have just mentioned. There is no second place. And if we receive less than 5, Mark and I will just pick our collective favorite. I hope we do not receive less than 5. But please email those to lanterncast@gmail.com with all necessary attachments and or links. Mark, how else can they contact us?
They can contact us by emailing us at lanterncast@gmail.com, lanterncast@gmail.com. You can visit our website, lanterncast.com, which is now, once again, Indonesian free. You can access our forums besides checking out our galleries, and other things. You can product review, new episodes of the Ring Cyclopedia, exciting things of that nature. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. You can use hashtag GLCast to find us on both. We are on iTunes and Stitcher, and if you like us on both, please leave us a positive review. Last but not least, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail, call us at 708-LANTERN, 708-LANTERN, and let us know what you think.
All right, guys. Next episode, we don't even know. Something cool, because we have a whole nother act of Godhead to get out to the public before. Well, we don't have to get it out to the public, but we have to wait on a whole nother act of Godhead before we do another Godhead current issue review. So I'm imagining something fun. I'm imagining probably another episode of Green Lantern, Green Arrow somewhere in there. But if not, don't have a conniption. And probably a holiday episode, right? Won't you think?
Maybe, but you know how long it takes to organize these things.
That's true. So maybe not a holiday episode. We don't know. At the okay, we'll choose. We'll try and figure out if we can get enough people, a holiday episode as you guys know it. If not, we'll probably do what, a gift giving guide. We got to do something holiday related.
Yeah, we can do something like that. That's something we could pull
Yeah,
together.
our fallback is the gift giving guide. We'll shoot for a holiday episode with getting the gang back together and talking, just talking about holiday stuff like we normally do. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Good night, everybody.